The next fellow you have seen frequently. Darrell Slocum is going to talk on QR code marketing, and I believe he's lurking right behind this curtain. Darrell?
Hallelujah. DSL is back up.
Oh, that's what
we got to stall for some time because I was on the calendar for 3 o'clock and we've got a worldwide audience that's waiting to tune in. So just kidding. We're not going to stall for time at all. All right. Is everybody ready? Yes. Seriously, come on. Well, you may not be excited, but I'm excited. I am, absolutely. All day, I mean, I got to sit on this panel just now, but all day I've been like at the conference where somebody else has the talking stick and you want it really bad because I had so many things that I wanted to say because I'm loving this. I absolutely, how about the speakers we've had? Let's hear it for the speakers. They've done a terrific job. Now, I am going to talk about QR codes, but I'm going to talk about a few other things too since I have some extra time. Complete this statement. The road to hell is paved with... Everybody knows that one. Well, I'm the poster boy for that right now because I had this great plan. How many of you, a lot of you said that you're on our Facebook page for the 140 conference, right? Okay. How many of you saw my post that made reference to QR codes and the matrix? Not too many of you. Ooh, okay. Well, my next thing was going to be, how many of you... Let's see, how do I say this? Is everybody aware of the fact that most people on social media, let me say this carefully, Terry Merson said that she's likes to communicate. Most people on social media are voyeurs. Does everybody know what that is? They like to watch. It's something we absolutely need to keep in mind because we're going to post something and what do we want? We want feedback, right? We want recognition that, man, that was witty. I spent all day thinking of that. I want somebody to post something about it. We don't get that. But don't allow that to lead you to believe that people are not watching. They're not listening. Because they are. Most people, like I said, they just don't engage. And if they do, that's great that you're taking it a step further. There have been many things that I've done, including on my personal page. I'm a runner, and I used to have Nike Plus, and it would post how far I ran that day and how fast and all that kind of stuff. I talked to somebody months later after I turned it off, and they'd go, "Why did you do that? I really loved living vicariously through you and watching your runs." So little things like that would give me reinforcement. So what I was hoping is that a lot of you would say, yes, we saw your matrix thing. And I go, well, that's interesting. Only one person responded. But as part of my QR code presentation, I had this what I thought was a really great idea. I was going to come in matrix theme. I contacted Marianne Kermey. I'm sure many of you know Marianne, and she was going to help dress me up, and I was going to try to look like one of the characters from the Matrix. I was even going to have, a big screen in the back with that code on there and all that kind of stuff, right? And since we're it's all fantasy, maybe I do the thing where I dodge a bullet or whatever. And I can't believe how lame I am. I didn't make any of that happen, but there was a specific reason why I wanted to do that, and it's tied into the QR code thing. What is a QR code? Anybody know? Quick response code. Does anybody know what they are? Okay. Does anybody know what they look like? Did we pass them out? Okay, we passed them out. Okay. So for those, for the uninitiated, that is a QR code, right? Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of technical about what this is, 2D versus 3D, all those kind of things. It's an encrypted shortcut, right? It will drive you to a web page or another destination to seek information. Trisha's already fired her smartphone up. You have to have a smartphone to read this or a tablet with the application on it. Everybody follow me so far? Okay. Rather than me talking about all the applications, which are endless, I've posted a link on our Facebook page which will take you to an article that says it much better than I can. I think it's like 1,000 uses for QR codes. But just imagine that the uses are endless. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. But why is it important? And that gets back to the Matrix thing. My son loves the Matrix. And his favorite part, everybody knows the movie The Matrix, right? I'm up here droning on, right? You know the part where they plug into the thing, right? And Keanu Reeves comes out at one point and he goes, I know Kung Fu, right? Well, transfer of information, obtaining knowledge, that's what attracted my son, who's young, to that. I think there are a lot of young people and some older people that are in that category where we want it quick, we want information. There's a tendency to label those type of individuals as being lazy, right? Because, well, if you really wanted to learn Kung Fu, you could learn Kung Fu. No, there's too many things to learn, right? I don't have time to learn them all, but I would love to be able to plug in. And that's what the QR code does, kind of, because people are busy, overstimulated, they got a lot of different things going on. So to get somebody to actually sit down and enter your URL, your web page address, right? That's too much to ask in many instances. Does everybody get that? Does everybody understand that? That's one of the reasons that Facebook fan pages are so popular, because what do you have to do to join a Facebook fan page? You have to click a button, right? You have to click the like button, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible, and the QR code does that by directing people simply by taking a picture. Okay? So from that, I wanted to segue and talk about a couple of other things. On our panel, we got into tactics a little bit, talking about, the kind of content to post on your page, etc. What I was really hoping for to obtain from the conference is for some of you to just have what I call that aha moment, where something that one of the speakers says makes you realize that this is something you need to be involved in. And for many of us, the aha moment comes at different times. You never know when it's going to come. But when it does, now that you've decided you need to engage and jump into the fray, change is hard for people, right? It's even when we know we need to change, we have a difficult time doing it, right? That's part of human nature. And so seminars like this are helpful from the standpoint that they can provide the motivation to change. I sat on a panel for a local, I'm not going to say too much about who it is because you'll figure out who it is, but the gist of it is there's a bunch of old people on the panel. They're even older than me, most of them. But we were talking about the way people obtain information, and one of the guys was talking about how he reads the LA Times or the New York Times and he digests it, and what he doesn't think it's a good idea that the young people nowadays, they don't do that. They don't read stuff. And he was kind of implying that meant that they were not very well informed, right? And he said, what do you think of that? And I said, well, even if I agree with you, what does that have to do with anything, right? What is the fact that that's the way they obtain their information, and that we don't agree with it? Doesn't matter, right? Somebody said earlier, the train's leaving whether you're on it or not. The train's going to be leaving, right? So I countered and I said, and yet, young people, and some of us that are older even, we've gotten really good at processing a lot of information, right? Because what we do is we read the blurbs, right? We read the headline, we decide what we want to dive into deeper. So I came up with an analogy that kind of fits him. If you read Atlas Shrugged, right, which is like a 1,000-page book, right, and you know it inside out, but somebody else reads 20 Cribs notes. Everybody knows what Cribs notes are, right? So that you get the gist of it, the summary of the book. Okay, you may know more about that particular subject, but the other individual may know a whole lot about a lot of different subjects. Isn't that kind of the way of the world today? Isn't that how kind of things work? A lot of information quickly. How many of you have experienced a situation where you're in a room with young people and they're texting each other in the same room? Okay. A lot of us have problems not comprehending that. Why in the world would anybody want to do that? If we can't get into that mindset, if we can't understand that type of thinking, we're going to have a hard time reaching them. Does everybody understand that? If we think the way we think, we're going to have trouble reaching out to a group like that. And one of the things that that was eye-opening and interesting about having Alan and the Mutineer crew up was that they don't necessarily think of things the same way some of the people in Calaveras County do. And it brought us in a somewhat of a more worldly perspective, which was a good thing. So what I would suggest is that you need to seek to understand, right? You don't have to agree with it, you don't have to adopt it, but you just kind of have to understand how information is processed. And as Steve Markle said, that people don't read anymore, right? Okay, so if they don't, again, you can go on a literacy campaign, which is a good thing. You can certainly help increase reading aptitude and people's enjoyment of reading, or in addition to that, hopefully, you can accept the fact that that's the way it is, and then you can proceed accordingly. As I mentioned earlier, the thing about being too close to our business, I think that's something that drags a lot of us down, where we lose sight of what the consumer is looking for because we know all there is to know about our business. I would encourage you to seek that fresh pair of eyes to come in and look at your business and to give you feedback so that you can hopefully pick up on the thing that you're missing out on. Because we're all missing out on something, I can guarantee you that. Did anybody have, I feel like I kind of glossed over the QR codes. How many of you read it, and who can tell me what that QR code is for? Nanette. What? Golden State Cellular website. Correct.